Hello there. Today I'm kind of excited here because we're going to check out something I've been wanting to look at for a while now. I picked up an Adaptec SlimSCSI adapter some time ago for cheap, and I'd always wanted to try it out, but I never got around to it because I kind of figured it probably has crazy complicated drivers and is a huge pain to get going because nothing SCSI is ever easy. But after that, I had the opportunity to pick up the same exact adapter, brand new, sealed in the box. So today, we're going to take a look at the Adaptec SlimSCSI from 1996 and try getting SCSI working on a 486 laptop running Windows 95. Now, if you've never used SCSI before, a little introduction might help here. This is a SCSI cable, a 50-pin Centronic interface that allows you to connect to external devices. Except that's not the only SCSI interface. This is also a 50-pin SCSI interface, and let's make it more complicated. Here's a 68-pin SCSI interface, and you know what? The other end of that cable is yet another kind of SCSI interface, and you know what? Here's a SCSI card that has two other kinds of SCSI interfaces, and that's not even getting close to this because, I mean, you're going to need adapters to go between the different kinds of SCSI interfaces, and then actually you need terminators too to get those connected, and sometimes the things don't just plug in the way you think, so you might need an adapter to change the cable gender too, but then that gets complicated because, I mean, one end of the cable is going to be one thing, and the other end here is going to be something completely different, and then, I mean, we don't even need to get started on the weird modern SCSI devices that don't even work the way you think they will, and then we have things like this, that's a modern SCSI device but meant for old stuff, and it's not always compatible with everything, and SCSI is just kind of a mess. So when I first ran into the Adaptec SlimSCSI here, I thought there is no way this thing is going to be easy to set up, and that's why I never really got around to it. But now that I have a boxed copy, I can feel somewhat confident that I can actually get this working. And this thing makes some promises that I'm not sure it's going to be able to keep. Now, right off the bat here, up to 6 times faster than a parallel port connection. Now, it might actually be faster, but the parallel port connection is an interesting point that I want to take a look at more here in a little bit. Around back here, we see it comes with a standard 50-pin high-density SCSI connector and a DB25-pin adapter to connect to most external SCSI drives. And yes, at this time, that would have covered the majority of things, but like I showed you, it gets very messy very quickly. But this part, as easy as 1, 2, 3, has got to be my favorite claim because I don't think I've ever heard anyone say setting up anything SCSI is easy. For example, this Bernoulli box drive here that takes 150 megabyte disks. This is a SCSI device, and around back, we see the 50-pin SCSI connector, which is not one of the two that it mentions it supports. You can adapt to that though. What it doesn't mention though is right here. Now, if you thought the two possible positions for floppy drives or hard drives on PCs was confusing, how about having to manually select a device ID on a radial switch to set the SCSI interface for every single device on a chain? So when you go to set up multiple SCSI devices, you need to make sure you don't have any conflicting IDs on your chain. And that's not even the end of the complications because you still have to deal with terminators. This is a passive plug that goes onto one of the inputs on a device, and then when you plug in multiple devices in a chain, again, this is one cable connecting to both of these, the last one in the chain has to have a terminator on its output connector so the bus ends properly and the signaling works right. Now, of course, none of these problems are insurmountable, but that's the mindset that people are in when they think of SCSI and why I find the easy claims on this thing to be entertaining, because it really doesn't matter what they do with this. SCSI is inherently a nightmare. But now you have a rough idea of what's going on with SCSI, so we can open this box and see how it's going to work. All right, now, like I mentioned earlier, this thing has been sealed since 1996, so hopefully everything to make this work is still in here. There's a little bit of plastic torn on the front, and we can use that to get in. All right, in this kit you will find the SCSI adapter. Boom. Ooh, it comes in a little storage case, fancy pants. A 50-pin high-density 2dB 25-pin adapter, an installation guide, a warranty registration card, a README first card, and Windows 95 driver diskette. Yeah. So let's go back to that box here. Full plug-and-play compatibility under Windows 95 makes it possible to install SlimSCSI. It's just point and click. You're ready to go. Installs flawlessly. Yeah, so they're making it sound like you don't need a driver disk. They include a driver disk. So continuing here, we have the adapter and the cable that is pretty much exactly the same as this one. It is totally the same. So we should be able to get one of these working no matter what. This is a weird little case. Why? Why? You still have to have this horrible cable on it. Although, I mean, PCMCIA, it's like a cassette box for a PCMCIA card. Will it fit a normal one? Oh my gosh. That is amazing. Can I get more of these? I have tons of PCMCIA cards. It would be hilarious to have them all in little cassette cases. Oh my gosh. Farther in here, we have that adapter. So this adapter takes in HD50 and allows you to connect to DB25, and it's the same as this one. This one is iOmega branded. It must have come with a drive or something. But these are nice, except not every device I have has the right thing on it. So we might have some dongle-y things going on, but we'll set that aside as well. The APA 1450A SlimSCSI driver kit. And that's not going into the 46 over there yet. Now, like I mentioned here, Windows 95 has built-in support for the SlimSCSI adapter. It claims it'll work out of the box without drivers, and the driver disk is just for better performance. However, let's go ahead and plug this in. This is the first time plugging this one in, although I did plug in the other one like I mentioned. Boom. And it will now look for drivers. And here's the thing. Let me switch this over to video output so I can get you some capture. So immediately Windows doesn't have a default driver for this device. So there's that. We can select from a list of alternative drivers. Notice that it's identifying it as an APA 1460. And oddly, if we scroll down here, we'll find that there is an APA 1460 driver, and I don't know why it's not automatically using that one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cancel this, and I'm just gonna put in the disk and install the driver. But okay, so it makes sense that it's detected as a 60, I suppose, but it doesn't automatically select it. So I'm wondering if maybe this version of the adapter I have is presenting as a newer device ID than that driver will accept. One of the things that you'll find, if we go into here, we can actually edit this file. So when you go in and look at an INF for a device, you'll find that it has specific vendor and product IDs typically that it's looking for, and you'll have to match those. So the product ID for this may not match the existing driver. So it may be a newer hardware revision that isn't compatible with the existing drivers. But I'm guessing I probably just need to go ahead and install the driver. All right, so I'm booted back in, and there should be, and there is, a PC card system tray, and yep, it shows up there. So now we need to actually connect a device to this. That's slightly problematic for me. Now, at multiple points on the box, it actually mentions it's for iOmega, Zip, Jazz, SideQuest, and Easy series drives. None of the iOmega drives I own are SCSI, and they've actually been really hard to find. I've been trying to keep an eye out for them, but I don't have any. So I can't test anything like that, unfortunately. However, I do have one thing that's close to that. A SideQuest drive. And this one actually works. I've used this with my Roland W30 keyboard, so I know we're going to be able to make it work. Oddly, the only disk pack I have for it is formatted for the Roland W30, which might complicate things a little bit for Windows 95, but we'll see. But this should work. The only problem is that it's a Centronics 50 pin, and we have high density 50 pin, which means we're gonna need a lot of adapter cables. All right, I was about to disconnect the card so I could get it connected, but the directions actually say put the card in and then connect the drives, which is very strange because SCSI is not hot swappable. So I don't know if this is actually going to be hot swappable. That would be kind of cool, but I guess we'll try that. And then when it doesn't work, we'll go ahead and disconnect the card and then try this. So we've gone HD50 to DB25 to gender changer. And now we're gonna go DB25 to Centronics. Okay, you know, that's really not too bad, but definitely not something you want to just carry around in your laptop bag. I think we got off kind of easy with that one. Okay, this is all connected. I just plugged this into power. It's not turned on yet, but yeah, I have the disk pack right here, which is just so stupidly cool. I mean, look, oh, man, these are awesome. Anyway, let's flip the switch here and see what happens. Okay, it turned on. Now, I think it would show up, but I'm not 100% sure. No. Okay, let's go ahead and put the disk in and see what happens here. Maybe not use the mouse on top of the hard drive. Oh, those are great sounds. In this case, they really are. Yeah, so I'm not really surprised there. Nothing's showing up. So we could restart, but that would be basically the same thing as unplugging it and plugging it back in. So let's just try that first and see what happens. So it should beep when it gets removed. There we are. You should use the PC icon. Oh yeah, we should do that, but we didn't have any data going, so that was fine. All right, now let's plug it in and see if it finds the drive. This should just show up as a regular hard drive as far as Windows is concerned, so this shouldn't be too exotic for it. Doesn't even require special drivers. It should just be a 200 megabyte hard drive. Removable disk D, not formatted. Okay, we are clear to format this, so let's go ahead and try that. Okay, so what I was concerned about with the W30 stuff is that it might have had weird sized partitions, because it needs like smaller partitions, but if it's just 200 megs, then we're good. You can't actually partition drives from within Windows 95 or Windows 98. You have to drop down to DOS, and I have a strong feeling these drivers don't work in DOS, so we're gonna avoid that, thankfully. So we don't have to worry about that. All right, it's accessing it. We just did SCSI over PCMCIA. That's kind of awesome. Without even restarting, it just worked. Wow, though. And there it is. Drive D, just for giggles, let's copy the driver for this over. Lights flickered. Dude, that is sweet. Let's make this a little more complicated. I'm going to eject the PC card. Let's try and connect some more. So CD drives are kind of a pain to get working on older laptops like this that don't have a CD drive built in. These are parallel port CD drives. These are backpack drives, and I've actually done some videos about these with this laptop like 5 years ago now, I think. Crazy long time ago. And these are a massive pain, specifically on this machine, because this floppy drive actually connects through the parallel port, and I showed in the video I did using a data switch box to switch between the floppy drive and the CD drive, which was just madness. But it should be possible to connect a SCSI CD drive through this setup. So let's give that a shot. That should give us both the hard drive and the CD drive at once over the same connection. Now that's something you definitely can't do with parallel. Like I said, I had to use this data switch box to go between the CD drive and the floppy drive. Since SCSI is intended to be a bus where different devices can be accessed from thanks to the IDs, this should work. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire up the hard drive and the CD drive, and let's see if we can make these talk. Okay, we don't have either one now. This is the SCSI I'm more familiar with, not the just plug it in and it works. Okay, I changed basically nothing. Here is the SciQuest drive, and here is CD drive. All I did was connect to the disk drive first, and then this in the chain, which shouldn't make a difference unless this is doing something weird, but it has 2 ports. I looked on the back, there's no active termination, so shouldn't cause any problems, but all right, that's, if that'll work, then I'll be happy, I guess. All right, since everything's working now, let's go ahead and give this a real workout, and we're going to install Descent 2 from this CD drive to that hard drive, and then play the game from there, which has CD audio as well, and I've connected the drive to speakers, and we'll see if we can get all of that working through the 46DX100 on there over the PCMCIA bus. I genuinely have no idea if it's going to work. That's a lot of data to put through there, so this could be interesting. Does FMV's pretty good. All right, this is going from the CD drive to the hard drive, so let's see how long this takes. Okay, that took quite a bit longer than I anticipated, so this is maybe not gonna be the best experience. Now I will say, when this is playing Redbook CD audio, which I think I'm about to set up here, it's not going to be sending the CD audio through the SCSI bus. It just plays directly from the drive out through the RCA jacks. So that should be fine, and it looks like we can test that. So let's see if that works. That is a yes. Excellent. So I think we're good. We're gonna save changes, and now we can run it. Since it gets to run through the Windows side here, it means that we avoid the problem of DOS drivers, so that's good at least. And I think it's streaming that video file based on the activity of the drive. So that's cool. Just gonna let it run the demo. you know, that actually wasn't that bad. And we do have music. It's really quiet. That didn't take too long to load. I was gonna say, based on the install time there, it seems like it's gonna be brutal to use this as a setup, but you know, I think if you had a laptop like this and maybe a larger drive, having like a docked home gaming setup with a CD drive and larger storage could actually work. So that's really cool to see. Okay, so clearly this is a viable setup. That's really awesome. But most people probably aren't gonna have like a bunch of old SCSI hardware, because let's be real, these are weird and not easy to get, and I mean, like, the hard drive kind of sucks. So the thing that most people would want to use something like this with is actually going to be this. This is not another period correct hard drive. This is my SCSI to SD that I put into a period correct enclosure, and we're gonna try using this with an SD card containing data. I guess I have a little 4 gig card in here at the moment, and see what it's like to use a virtual SCSI device with CD and hard drive to try different software. Okay, that took way longer than I thought it was going to, because I forgot how much of a pain in the butt the SCSI to SD is, since the whole thing is configured at like device block level rather than like files. So you want an ISO on there, you don't just drop it on there, you gotta DD it into a drive that shows up, and it's just like a, oh man, and then the hard drives and formatting and just blah. But now we can come back to here and focus on what it's like to use it for a vintage machine. So if I slide the SlimSCSI in, it will show up. Okay, that is a hard drive being emulated, and I have a disk drive as well, and I ripped an ISO of my copy of Strife here. So I'm going to install this onto there, which should run pretty well. If I come over here, refresh, we'll just ignore the weird directory, and hopefully that's not something we need to worry about. I'm gonna run setup. We're gonna go keyboard only. We can actually have sound here, so Sound Blaster, sure. We can have all that, yada, yada, yada. Save and launch. Error, general protection. Fault, okay. Well, the copy, it may have copied over bad files. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just delete everything and copy it myself, because there's no reason. Could not delete file system error. Huh, that's interesting. SCSI to SD. I'm calling that partially working. The hardware itself, real deals, will work fine. That thing doesn't seem to want to work right, so I don't know what's going on with there. We're gonna try the blue SCSI, just because I want to see if at least one of these will work. I have no idea what my drive settings are on the blue SCSI, so this is probably not gonna work right out of the box. What I'm looking for here is just to see that a hard drive shows up. The compatibility on the blue SCSI is not as good as the SCSI to SD. Although the SCSI to SD did not work here. Okay, so there's nothing, it doesn't find anything plugged into this by the looks of it. All right, well, I'm calling that on the blue SCSI. I didn't realistically think that was gonna work. That's why I didn't want to bail on the SCSI to SD too quickly, because these are mostly designed for Macs, and the firmware is mostly tested with Macs, so that's not too unexpected. I tested that with my Roland W30 keyboard, and it didn't work either. But yeah, I will say though, this thing, with devices that it is compatible with, has been really cool to experience so far. If perhaps the SCSI 2SD compatibility can be sorted out, this would be a really awesome way for communicating with devices like this, where you have highly limited I/O options and can get into a really good ecosystem for peripherals. Like SCSI on something like this would be amazing, because the Libretto 50CT full computer here has no ports by default other than PCMCIA, so that would be great. And for actual disk drives, being able to put a real drive on the SCSI bus instead of the parallel, like the backpack here, that's really awesome. It was slow when we tested it with the SiQuest and the Apple Drive, but it worked. So that demonstrates this thing is functional as both direct device and as a bus. So I really don't think it could do much better than that. Well, I'm out of things to test with the Adaptec SlimSCSI now, so I'm gonna have to call it there. Hopefully we can get the SCSI 2SD figured out later. I'm gonna try testing that some more off camera, I suspect, because that's just bugging me. I can't figure it out. But for now, I am super impressed with it for real hardware. It worked fantastically, and honestly a lot simpler than I would have guessed, so I'm pretty impressed with it. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to subscribe, and if you want to help support the channel and are interested in one of these, I'll put an affiliate link to eBay to searches for this in the description. But that is it for now, and I will see you next time.